So, welcome back to Solo Board Gaming Presents Navajo Wars, and we're continuing with our playthrough. I think that was the fourth card we've been through. This must be card number 5. Flip it over, it's an operations card. Okay, and we have a child on this. We could do with that. I might do a planning operation. But anyway, with the operation segment, player may preempt for 3 action points. We don't have 3, we only have 2. So the enemy will collect 4 action points and they'll go first. So let's look at the enemy action point situation. So they start with the 4 action points, but they have 3 unused action points from last time. So that makes 7. Plus the red cube is 8, but minus, because of the raided cube box, minus another 1, back to 7. So they can spend 7 action points. So that's those collected. Next, will there be any flip or swap? Let's take a look. Roll 2 die. And we have 2 and 4 for flipping. So 2, there you go, is a raid. So that'll flip to expand. And what was it on 4? So that'll go again from subvert back over to build and subvert. So that's it for flip and swap. Now they can spend their 7 action points, and the first thing they'll do is raid. Look, raid will cost them 5, so they'll go down to 2 action points left and they'll do raid. Don't be too afraid of the Spanish raiding your territories, and hopefully we'll make it work for us. So you collect the amount of raid counters that are on the raid token. So that's 5. So I'm going to go up here and collect 5 enemy raid tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place them in or around Santa Fe, plus the amount of enemy raid tokens as is equal to the total ferocity on our family units. 0, 0, but this one is 2, so plus 2. So they have a total of 7 enemy raid counters in Santa Fe. And you can see how the Spanish themselves react to how ferocious we've been. And this family here has a rating of 2. They've been raiding, you see, and Spain was going to react to that. So they'll start raiding by placing a raid counter in the first area, like so. We get a chance to react. Now, reactions which are on the card, and you're using this card here, the enemy raid flowchart. It looks complex. It's not. Honestly, it really is easy and logical to follow. So I'll just put this away and we'll just talk through it. The enemy have had their first move. They've been spotted, obviously, by our scouts. We do have a chance to react. Reacting, all the different types of reaction, harassment, ambushing, will actually cost us action points. We only have 2, so you have to be careful how we react. So at the moment, no, we're not reacting. The enemy moves again. And still, we're not reacting. What the enemy will do now, which way do they go? They're at a fork in the road. Which valley are they going to charge into first? Well, they'll take the easiest route, if you like, to the nearest family, the nearest hostiles for them. Forget the parentheses, you're just looking at the normal numbers, the normal area values. That's 3 and 4, so that's 7 away. This one is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 away. This one is only 1 away, and that's how we know which way the enemy will go. Bang! Now they're in the same area as our family, family A, and now we have to react. The Spanish are running around in our own area. We need to save our families. We're going to try and evade. Evasion is the only reaction that doesn't cost any action points. So let's try and evade. Let's take a look at how we're going to do that. We're going to roll a die. I'll do that straight away. Oh, it's only a 1. That's not good. Plus our family's evasion value, which is 3. Okay? Because our evasion value is 2. We rolled a 1, total of 3. We can now move to that area. If that's what we want to do. We'll move right over here to area 3. You see? Because our modified roll was a 3. Simple as that. If we'd have rolled an unmodified 6, we could have either have gone to area 6 or to Canyon de Chelly to really get out of the way. Anyhow, that was successful. It's enemy raiders again. This is still the closest family. It's 5 away, whereas the next closest family is 7 away. Boom. There they go again. They're chasing us, chasing us, chasing us. Are any families going to react? No. So again, the enemy have reached our family. Again, we're going to try and invade. It's the one reaction, remember, that costs nothing. So let's try to evade. A little bit better this time. 3 plus 2 is 5. We could go to area 5, so we will not go to area 5. We will go to area 5. Now, the Spanish have a decision to make. They have just 2 counters left, and we evaded yet again. This is their decision. This family is now 4 plus 5, because this is how difficult it is to negotiate this terrain. They're 9 points away. This family is, as we said before, just 7. So they changed direction. They're now coming after this family. No reaction. They're charging into the valley and they have us. We could evade, but we will not. We'll stand and fight. And we'll spend 1 action point to conduct an ambush. We allowed them to come in and we ambushed them. And now to battle. The battle table, once again, like most of these tables and menus on the player aid, are really, really simple. We're going to roll a die for the dîner, but we'll modify it like so. Plus X, where X is the family's ferocity rating. Our ferocity rating is 2. Or double the family's ferocity rating if it's an ambush reaction, and we spent that 1 action point to make it an ambush. So we can go double the family's ferocity rating. So instead of plus 2, it's going to be plus 4, but we can never go higher than the value of the area we are in, because that's how much the terrain is allowing us to set up for an ambush. Do you get it? That works for me. So far, we have a die roll plus 4. But our family has horses. And I'm going to move them from the family box to here so we can see. So that'll give us a plus 1. And we're going to use the firearms from our resources box for a +2. So we're going to roll and we're going to +7. 4 for our double ferocity because we ambushed. 5, 6, 7. So let's roll. And we got a 4 +7 is 11. Now we need to roll for the enemy. So we roll a die for the Spanish. And, oh dear, you saw that. Oh dear, that's a 1. Plus the enemy's ferocity. And over on the table over there, it's a 4. So it's 5. 5 from our 11 is +6. And for +4 or greater, it's going to be the top row. Look for the area that we're in. I think we're in area 4. There's 3 or 4. Yes, we're in area 4. And the result is MFV. Major family victory. I'll read out what happens. +1 to the family ferocity. So we'll make that a 3. -1 enemy morale, but +2 enemy ferocity. Next time they'll be much more angry. Very fierce indeed. And we place the family on the escape box. There it is, in the territory. Firearms have been spent. They'll now go back into the out of play box. Horses I'll put back on the family box. One more roll to make. Because it was a major family victory, we'll roll on the battle spoils table to see what we get from this victory. Did we manage to steal anything from the Spanish? We got a 6. We're rolling well. And 6, place 1 available firearms counter in the resources box. We stole their weapons. So the firearms counter that I've just put back in the out of play will now come back to be used from the resources box again. What a result! So that was the end of the raid. Because there are no more counters left in Santa Fe for the enemy raid, we go back to the diagram, raid ends, and we follow what it says there. We conduct the following actions. If there were any areas that have a raid counter but no family counter, then we would place an outpost because we've gotten rid of any families in that area. But that's not true anywhere because you also count any families that are in the escape box. So this has a family and that area has a family, so they'll not place an outpost. And if during their raid, the Spanish never even encountered any of our family groups, found nothing in other words, they do a build action. So again, a tip. If you get raided by the Spanish, make sure they do at least encounter you. Even if you then evade, because it'll help. Otherwise, there's no effect as regards building and that kind of thing. Next, we remove all of the enemy raid counters. They'll go back to out of play. Okay. Now, if there are no families in any of the court boxes where the Spanish raided, the Spanish are really miserable. They basically failed. They caught no one. So their morale goes down by another 1. Oh, it's now just right down to 3 over there now, their morale. And finally, any families that are in escape or court boxes can now return to their area and with any ferocity level that you wish. Okay, so I'm going to reduce their ferocity back down to 2 actually, and I can place them in any area of their territory. I will place them here. Okay, that's a successful mission. They used 5 of their available 7 points, which means they don't have enough to do the expand because they've only had 2 points left, and that would cost 3 action points. So they end their turn by moving on up. Cue for a song. Raid comes down there. So next, the way it sits at the moment, they're looking at expand and subjugate and so on. That's their turn over. So we spent our 1 action point over on that ambush. They now have just 2 action points saved. Their morale came down. I forgot to do something last turn. I did put it in the notes on the last video. We did a planning phase, you see, and we boosted our military points with some elder actions. And in doing so, I should have also reduced our culture by 1 each time. I didn't. Our culture should be 2 lower than is shown there. It should be down at 6. But we're okay. Minor points caught it in the end. Okay, it's our turn. Let's do a planning operation, I think. Oh, I'm so close to doing a passage of time, but I want to do 1 more planning. So the first thing we do is we add a population canter, as is shown on the ops card, and that's a child population. So we'll do that. We'll add a child now, as far as I'm concerned. Here we go, look. We could next time do passage of time. Anyhow, let's continue. We collect 1 action point for each elder, so that's 3. We're on 1 action point, so that takes us up to 4 action points. We move our elders 1 to the right. Makes them stronger, look. Is that one still on camera? I think it just about is. Now, each elder could conduct 1 free action, but we must roll less than or equal to the elder's rating to do it. So let's see if elder 1 can give us yet more action points. I need to roll 1 to 3. 5, no, he can't. See if the next elder can do it. Give us an action point. I need to roll 1 to 2. No, he can't. Failed. And again, I need to roll a 1 to 2 for an action point. Come on, come on. 2. We got 1 more action point. We've now got 5 action points. Okay, I like that. Now, how many females do we have? We have a female in each family, so we have a total of 3 females. So each of them could spend an action point to get trade goods. We've only got 1 trade good left anyway that's available in the out of play box. So 1 family will spend an action point, so we're back down to 4, for that final trade goods token. So we now have 3 trade goods in our resources box. That's what I wanted, because it could give us, for instance, a reroll if we needed it. Finally, we reset the cubes, so these guys go back from the recovery into the raid pool, which means into the bag, and this goes into the recovery box, like so. So that's cubes reset, and that's our turn over. So we look at the major event segment. That gives us a bad harvest. Remove all corn counters from territories with at least 1 drought counter. We have no corn counters anywhere. We didn't grow any corn last turn. And finally, roll to see which instructions, if any, swap places. Let's have a look. Well, I say if any, there'll always be instructions that will swap places with a single die roll. And it's 6. So position 6 swaps places, P swaps with raid. There we go. Discard phase. Discard this card. Take the next card. Turn it, and it's a ceremony card. Let's take a look. What does it say? Conduct enemy way effect on all ceremony cards in player's hand. We don't have any. But this time I must remember to reset the cubes. So the only resetting that needs to be done over here is the white cube from the recovery box will go back into the bag. There's no other cubes to move. So we've reset the cubes. Now step 2 is to step 2 would be to discard the card. Do we want to do that, or do we do step 3? Step 3 is add 1 man population to the passage of time box and then take the card to hand. We'll do that. So we'll add a man counter. Oh, we're ready for passage of time, definitely. And we'll keep the card because its blessing would be to give us a 4 in any die roll we need. We'll keep this in our hand and hope we don't get another ceremony card, actually. Hey! And now, take the next card. Ah! Why couldn't you have waited just one more turn to let me do a passage of time? But no, we have Pueblo Revolt, a historical event which is going to require a victory check. Now, there's nothing good about drawing this card at this particular point. I didn't want to do that. And I'll tell you why I didn't want to do it. Because during a victory check, if that's what I decide to do, the victory check, I'm going to lose half of the population, half of my kindred that I've built up here in passage of time. Really, you need to do a passage of time action before you draw that card. I didn't pay enough attention to how many cards we'd actually used out of the deck. I should have done a passage of time earlier. Then this card would be far more useful to us. Okay, there's a Pueblo Revolt, and we'll go through this bit shortly because basically the Pueblo Revolt in New Mexico is going to keep the Spanish busy for a short while, keep them off our backs, stop them taking actions, because they'll be trying to suppress the Pueblo Revolt. That's good. But a victory check, losing half of my population here, that's not good. After all we've done to try and build it up. Instead, we could carry out good medicine. And I wouldn't normally want to do that, but we may have to. Anyhow, first of all, we've got to return all the cubes that are in recovery, the raided cubes, and the subjugation of New Mexico into the raid pool. So that's the only cube we have over there, because the Pueblo are now having a revolt in New Mexico. So the Spanish aren't going to benefit from that red cube. This card will go to the top of the map board. It'll stay in play until removed. And these rules here, 1 to 3, will suppress Spanish activity as long as the Pueblo Revolt goes on. But meanwhile, we're going to carry out good medicine instead of a victory check. Didn't really want to do that, but I don't want to lose that population. So the card sits up there, it's in play. and instead we'll carry out good medicine instead of doing the victory check, and it's card number 41. It means I have to remove one black cube from the raid pool. So I dig into my raid pool, I'll find a black cube. Okay, there. Okay, we'll remove one black cube. Put the others back. And the black cube will now sit back in the subjugation of New Mexico box. So that's actually going to give a point back to the Spanish. But worse than that, I'll have to plus 1 enemy morale over here. So that goes from 3 to 4. And we've done such a good job of pushing their morale down. Couldn't risk that victory point check and losing this population just yet. So we did good medicine instead. I'm going to carry on drawing a card. Oh no, a ceremony card! Oh, I'm playing badly here. Oh, now I have one in hand already. Okay, because I've drawn this out, I now have to enact the enemy way that's on the card in my hand. First of all, it says reset cubes. Can't do that because that card is in play, and we do not reset cubes while the historical card is in play. I'll enact the enemy way here, which is return all planted corn counters to the draw cup. We have no planted corn. Whew. Narrow escape. If no planted corn, no effect. Player may discard this card, and if discarded, remove 1 man from passage of time. I'm going to discard the card. I'm going to remove 1 man. And I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to take this one into my hand and I'm going to add an elder to passage of time. Fine. And we'll take this into our hand. My goodness! What a game! Now, take another card. Okay. Do we preempt for 2 action points? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm going to pay 2 action points. 1, 2. I now have 2 action points left, so that we can go first. And we're going to do passage of time. Thank goodness for that. Like everything else, the passage of time summary is on the player aid. The first thing we can do is convert population counters into different family members. Basically, children can become anything. Man, woman, elder. The adults, and here we have 2 men, can become elders. So, 1 child is going to go into out of play and convert to a woman counter. The child has grown up into a woman. Now, this man counter will grow into an elder. Both elders will go into the first box of the elder display. We now have 5 elders. You can put as many elders in that first box as you wish. Not on these, but on that first box. These will now make another family, family D. Our population grows. Family counter D goes on their display. Their other counter enters the board in Canyon de Chelly. There are now 4 families on the board. All animals in the family boxes or in passage of time go back to the resource box, so we can take the horses from family B and they temporarily will go in the resources box. We're not losing them. Now our animals breed and we add 1 horse, and we've also got sheep in the resources box, so 1 sheep and 1 horse to our animals because they're breeding. Good thing, except of course we're going to have to feed them. Harvest any corn. We don't have any planted corn. Now we feed the population. How many population do we have? Well, let's get counting. We have family A, B, C and D. 3 population in each, so that's 12. 14, 15, 16, 17 population. Each area can feed 3. Minus any drought counters, and luckily we don't have any. So we can feed 9 so far of 17. Sheep counters, of which we now have 2, can feed up to 4 each. So that's another 8. 9 plus 8 is 17. We've just about fed all of our population. If we were a bit short there, for instance, what we could have done is traded our 3 trade goods, because we have 3 now, for sheep, and that would have helped as well. But we didn't need to do that because of the way the sheep we had bred. And also because of the way we've managed to expand, you can see now why I did not want to do a victory check in that last phase. Sheesh! Now, unfortunately, we have to feed animals. Can I feed the animals? Oh yes, I can, by the look of it. Each territory with 1 family can feed 1 horse and 1 sheep. So that's 3 families, 4 families, and we've got 3 horses. We've no sheep left, unfortunately. So we need to start collecting sheep again. Note to self, raid for sheep. Make an elder death check now. This can be deadly. Let's do an elder death check. We roll for each elder, and if we roll equal to or less than value, the elder dies. So this elder, if we roll 1 to 3, that's his value there, the elder will die. So for this elder, I'm going to trade in my ceremony card for that 5. We rolled a 5. He's safe. Next one, if it's 1 or 2, the elder dies. It's a 3. He's safe. Next one, 1 or 2, the elder dies. It's a 5. He's safe. They're okay. So you can see the older the elders get, particularly here, the chances are they're going to die off. We can now remove any drought counters, which is land recovery. Well, we had 1 over here on Black Mesa. We'll remove that. Return all corn from the resources box into the tub. We didn't use that. And we're supposed to reset the cubes, but once again, the Pueblo card is in play, so we do not reset cubes. And that's us. Finally, we managed that passage of time. So you've now seen passage of time, you've seen planning, you've seen actions. We went first, it's over to the enemy. Now things are going to be very different this time because it's the historical card, because they're trying to still put down this revolt of the Spanish. So the card dictates how the Spanish are going to react. and this does help us. Basically, to shortcut this, what it's saying is that only steps 2 and 4 of the enemy operations segment is executed. During step 2, the enemy gets 1 extra point. So let's do that first. 1 extra point. They collect 2 anyway. They already had 2, so that's 4. They had 1 extra point. They had 5. And there's 1 in the subjugation box, so they have 6 points. We ignore all the enemy instruction counters. They're all ignored. Instead, all the points that they have available, which is 6, must be spent to execute subjugate. And subjugation means we draw 1 cube per point spent. So we've got to draw 6 cubes. 1, 2, 3. Is it? Yeah. 4, 5, 6. There's not many cubes left in there. And we have, wow, look at this, 6 cubes. Whoa, 2 of them are red cubes, so they're going to go straight in the subjugation box. And the others will go in recovery. And looking at those and those, this bag is not good for raiding at the moment, so I think we'll stay off that. And that's it. They spent all their 6 points. They have none to save, and they might be forced to do that in the next turn if this card is still in play, because it remains in play. And in fact, if there were now 3 red cubes in the subjugate box, and there isn't, there's only 2, but if there were 3 red cubes, it's that would remove that card, because it signifies them finally having subjugated New Mexico. Okay, now it's over to the major event segment. Hostile tribes. The 2 hostiles counters with a star on them, which are these 2 here, Utes and Comanche, would flip back to this side, their main side, the one with the capital letter on them, if they weren't already on that side, but they are. So we have the Utes and the Comanche starred counters. Next, if they're on the standby column, swap places with a counter occupying the same row on the active column. So the Utes become active here. The Comanche become active here. So we have hostile tribes and now in the active column. Finally on this card, we roll to see which territory suffers drought. Let's take a butcher's. And, oh dear, it's territory 6. Which once again is Black Mesa. Suffers drought. So a drought counter goes in the first drought box in that territory. We discard the card. We take another. It's an operations card. How many cards have we had now? Are we into that second 9? I'm going to count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's number 9. Okay. So the next historical card could be anywhere in this section of the pack now. And we would have to then do a victory point check, I'm sure. I'm just going to tidy up these counters. I've knocked them all over. Okay, let's get straight on now with the enemy actions, because we can't afford to preempt, because it would cost us 3 action points and we only have 2. So enemy action points now. They start with 4. Plus 3 is 7. I'm not sure you know whether that should be plus 2 or whether we should still be counting the black cube. I'm going to say it's plus 3, so that's 7. Pueblo Revolt is still enacted because it's still in play. So they have to ignore all the instruction counters. The only thing they can do is subjugate. So they have 7 action points. Reminding myself that this card gives them plus 1. So they have 8. So they can draw up to 8 cubes. And do you know what? I wonder how many cubes are in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, there we go. 4. That's the final red one. 5, 6, 7. Ah, it's the last cube. 8. Okay, the red cube goes in here. All of the others go in recovery. Now that they have 3, immediately that happens, they have 3 red cubes. That means the Pueblo Revolt has been defeated. New Mexico is once again completely subjugated. This card is removed from play and no longer has an effect. And that's due to all 3 cubes being in that box. The enemy have used all their action points. It's the end of their turn. Now it's ourselves. And I'm not quite sure now what to do. I think actions. With 5 elders, 4 families, so each family can take out their full actions with their 6 movement points each. Family D is going to move 2 plus 3, 5 action points there. They've completed their turn. Family B are going to take horses from the resource box. They like their horses, do Family B, and they're going to travel 2, 3, 4, and they'll stay there. I tell you why, I want to get them ready to raid that mission. Family A are going to take horses, place them in the family box, and move 2, 3, 4 to here. And Family C are going to use 4 points to move further into the Zuni Mountain territory. I also think I should have done some planting I didn't do. I think I'm in a better place for planting next time. So we'll see. Okay. Meanwhile, that's our turn over. And we come on to the major event segment, which is Trappers and Traders. I like this. And I'm surprised it's only the first that we've seen. Roll a die to determine the territory where an intruder counter will be placed. And a second die into what area of that territory. So, ta-da! The red die will decide the territory and the blue die the area in the territory. So, oh, okay, territory 1, area 4. Take an intruder counter. Now, I'm trying to feel which side of the intruder counter is the top side. I think it's that. Yes, because I don't want to know what's in it, you see. So, area 1, which is Shiprock. And I just had a message, memory card full. So my camera shut off. So I just had to put all that right. So where were we? The intruder counter goes in territory number 1, area 4. So that's here. Now, intruder counters are normally good. Normally, not always, but mostly. And the first time one of our families passes through the intruder counter, we reveal what it says on the other side. And I haven't looked. I have not looked. So the draw cup goes back. The minor event is reset cubes, and we can now do that because card 41 was out of the game. Thank goodness. So reset the cubes. Everything in recovery goes back into the bag, and that black counter there, now that that card has gone. But still leaves us 3 red counters in the subjugate box. And that card is now finished, discarded. Draw the next card. Oops. I forgot. I thought I already had a ceremony card. I don't. So let's see what this one says. Conduct enemy way effects, obviously, but we don't have a card. Reset cues, we've already done that. Do I add an elder? I could do, you know, because I could do with that 6. If I take it in hand, I could do with having that 6 roll. We'll take it in hand. And we will add an elder, and it's our last one, by the way, in the out of play box. And I'll add it to Passage of Time. Okay, next card. And we're really getting through these cards now. Operations. I can preempt for 3, but we only have 2 still. So it's the enemy's turn for... Ooh. What would the major event be? Apache War in New Mexico. Oh, okay, good. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Anyway, first of all, the enemy gets 4 action points. Over this way. So enemy get 4 action points. They non-remaining from last turn, so that's 4, plus the 3 here. Darn it. So they get 7. And the first thing they're going to do, expand. Okay. Now that one's quite easy. I don't like it, but it shows the expansion of Spanish influence now. And the way you do that, any outposts that are on the map, and we have one, don't we? This one here, in Shiprock, it now moves up 1 area. So they're now in area 2. And it's as if there is now a mission here and here behind it. You see, Spanish culture is moving up the valley into our territory. So we look at it as if there's a mission here and here. And because of that, we lose another culture point as their culture impacts on ours. So that's 1 culture point lost. So from their 7 points, they've used 3, they have 4 left, so they can do the next one, which is subjugate. We've done similar to this before. So they spend another 3 points on subjugate, which means they take 3 cubes out of the raid box. We know they're not going to take any red cubes because they're already in the subjugation box, but they are removing from the bag cubes, for instance the white and the black, that are useful to ourselves. They're running down our potential resources, and these now go in the recovery box. So they spent 6 points. They only have 1 left to save. Just before that, by the way, you know what I forgot to do, don't you? You know what I forgot to do? Roll for flip or swap. 3 and 5. 5 comes up a lot. Okay, 3 swaps, or rather flips, sorry, to colonise. I'm happy with that actually. I think we'll see. And 5 swaps, or flips, keep getting it mixed up, to build. All right, we've done it now. So, now we move, up it goes, the engine grinds on. There we are, we're getting closer to a Comanche raid. Now, the major event, if card 41 hadn't come out yet, or it was still in play, it had no effect, but it's removed from play. So we return 1 red cube from the Subjugation of New Mexico box to the raid pool. Turn 1 back into the raid pool, so it goes into the bag. That's good. Now, this is the Apache War in New Mexico. So the Apaches are raiding New Mexico. Slightly more chaotic for the Spanish now. They've lost a little bit of control in New Mexico because they're having to deal with those Apaches. I'm happy with that. Roll to see which territory is subject to drought. Oh dear. Let's hope it's not. Oh, okay. It's territory 4. And I believe that's Monument Valley, which now suffers drought. Okay. It's our turn, folks. What shall we do? I think we'll do a couple of things here. Yeah, we'll raid the outpost. Now, first of all, the family must have a man. We certainly do. We must pay in movement points, the value of the area we're on. So we're paying 2, so we'll have 4 movement points left. We'll raid the mission. We take the draw bag. Come on, give us some good luck here. And we draw brown cube. This time, on the raids box, we're looking at this side of the card. We've drawn brown. The outpost takes 1 hit. And go down to outposts. They only take 1 hit to destroy if they're on area 2 to 6. It's on area 2, it's destroyed. But don't forget, we move it down here because there's still a mission actually in area 1. But for now, we destroyed it. Our family ferocity goes up 1. And because we've pushed them back, it makes sense. We regain 1 culture point. Yes. That goes in the raided cubes box. Let's regain a culture point. That's our culture pushing back. So we used 2 movement points. We're on horses. We're now going to use 1 more and 2 more. We'll finish our move here, which means we can turn over the intruder. Wandering natives. See that? Wandering natives. And in parentheses there, in brackets, it says child. So we take a child from out of play and we put it into our passage of time. Wonderful. And again, we're increasing our kindred after increasing our culture by pushing the Spanish back. Love it. Family A will plant corn. They're in area 2 plus 4 to plant corn. So using all of their points to plant corn. There we go. Now, this family here can try to find a watering hole, because if we can, it would remove this drought counter. Make sense? Now, that costs 9 movement points. Oh, wow, it's huge. That's why you can rarely do it. But minus the value of the territory you're in, so -3, it's going to take 6 movement points. And we have that. Therefore, it's successful. Therefore, we can remove that drought counter. Which just leaves family C to do a long-range raid. Remember that? A long-range raid on New Mexico. So we don't have to move, but it takes all of our movement points, all 6 of them. Long-range raid on New Mexico. And what do we get for it? Come on. What would I rather have? White or black, I think. Black, that'll do. Black is we've captured any animal. And we'll take sheep. We'll need them when it comes to feeding our families. Good turn. That's the turn over. And I've just realised I conducted it slightly out of order. Not that it matters. I should have taken our turn, then the major event. But I did the major event, if you remember, the Apache War in New Mexico, then took our turn. It hasn't made any difference whatsoever to the gameplay. What a nutcase. Too much talking, too much excitement. Pay attention, Paul. And finally, which territory suffers drought? Somebody's going to, aren't they? Territory number 2. Which is just what we didn't want, because that's San Juan Valley. Now we can discard the card. And draw another. Oh! Ouch! I know I had to expect this, but was hoping for another couple of cards first. Now, this is the second of the 2 historical event cards that are in this small deck for this short scenario. So it's the last card for this short scenario. So there has to be a victory check on this card. And it's Franciscan Faction Ascendant, the different factions within the Spanish colonists and the religious faction, the Franciscans, have actually won the day in that conflict of ideals. And which is why one of the first things we have to do is conduct 2 build instructions. Now, build instructions are quite simple. We place a mission token in the first area of a territory where there is no mission currently. We know we have a mission counter in area 1, in territory 1. So now we look at territory 2 and we can place a mission counter there. We look in territory 3 and we can put a missionary counter there. So the Spanish are enforcing their religion on our lands and jeopardizing our culture. And lastly, it says all instruction counters on the standby column here that have a cross on it swap places with a counter in the active column. So that's got a cross on it. And these are all about subvert and subvert again. Look, that's got a cross on it. So that becomes active. These 2 have already got crosses on. And I look down here and there's no more. But this row now is full of crosses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Were we continuing, playing a longer scenario, for instance, scenario 2 or the campaign scenario, that would affect us. Now, the next thing we do, we have to carry out that victory check. So we'll follow the victory check procedure, again on the player aid. And the first thing we do, how many victory points do we have? We have to try and beat this 10 victory points. Remember our discussion earlier about we must make sure we have families occupying these territories over here. And that's because we're going to get 3 victory points and 4, that's 7, and another 3, that's 10. So at least we've equaled it. Now, late on in the game, we managed to get another family in play for another 2 victory points, 12 victory points. So we've beaten that 10 victory points by 2. And if we beat the victory points, we can add 1 military point to our total. I'll just do this over here now. If the difference was negative, we'd end up subtracting the difference between the two from our military points, and that would not be good. Let's pop over now to that track and take a look. Now, we subtract the enemy morale from our military points. There's the enemy morale, 4 points. There's our military points, 8. 4 from 8 is 4. So our military points come down to 4. Their morale drops straight down to 0. You really need to keep your military points as high as you possibly can. Now, we can increase our military points again by how many men we have in our family boxes. And we did get that extra family out. We have 4 surviving men. So theoretically, we could add 4 military points, which would take us up to 8. But if you read on the board here, during the victory check segment, we can't go further than 7. So that's where we place our military counter. And because we increased our military by 3, 1, 2, 3, we can now increase the enemy morale again by the same amount. So however many we add to our military, we can now add once again to the enemy morale. So they have 3 points. But now, and this is the part I hate, we add 1 morale point, 1 enemy morale point for each outpost that they have on the board. And we just increase those. So if you remember, we now have 3 enemy missions that are invading our territories, if you like. So they get another 3 morale points because it's boosted them. Of course it has. It's boosted Spanish culture in our regions. So we add 1, 2, 3. Like so. Not a good state of affairs. Now, culture points. Just like with the men, we can add culture points depending on how many women, how many female figures we have in our families. And we have 4. So theoretically, we could add 4 culture points, but we'll only be adding 3 because 9 is the maximum culture points we can obtain. And it's the women in our families, the females, that drive our culture, creating art, sharing stories and folklore around the campfire with the children, ensuring that culture continues from generation to generation. So that's a good signifier of that. And if there were any forts in play, a later campaign, we would lose culture points depending on how many forts are in play. But there aren't, it's not that campaign. And we could, if we were playing a longer campaign and continuing, now buy another culture card, for instance, to add to our culture across the top of the board. But we're not continuing, so we won't buy culture cards. And the rest is just tidy up, where you would reduce your action points to 0 and return all cubes in recovery and raided boxes back to the bag, which I'll just do now anyway, just for the sake of completeness off camera. Back in the bag. And what I was talking about before, what I wanted to avoid on that last historical card, you would now reduce by half any population counters you have in the passage of time, by half, rounded up. We have 2 there. I'm going to reduce it by 1, like so. Now, we return to the scenarios. Scenario 1, Rise of the People. Here are the victory conditions. It simply remains that we do one thing. We subtract the number of enemy morale from our military points and compare the difference. There's enemy morale. It went right back up to 6 because of those missions. We've got 7 military points. Subtract. It leaves us 1 point. 1 or 2 points, minor victory. But, hold on there. Way back in this video, there was a black cube in the subjugation of New Mexico box. And mistakenly, after the Pueblo card went out of play, I withdrew the black cube and put it back in the bag. However, apparently I should have left it there. It's as a result of good medicine that I did last time instead of doing a victory check, remember? And if there's a black cube there, enemy morale goes up by 1 point. Therefore, completely eliminating our 1 point advantage. Our result is therefore 0, minor defeat. We've lost the game. No! Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that. I think we managed to catch most of my trip-ups eventually at some point through the videos, and that they weren't too many, but we've had a reasonable result. You know that 0 for me is a reasonable result. I did beat it last time by 1 point, a minor victory, but I'll take minor defeat. The first time, by the way, I played this particular scenario after doing the tutorial in the book, I lost hugely. It was a major defeat because I had 6 missions. Every space was filled up here. 6 missions on the board. And my points tumbled. Or rather, enemy morale shot up the board. Anyhow, that's how the cookie crumbles. And we've told a reasonable story, I think. And we've managed to get our peoples into a reasonable position. We were that 1 point away here from a minor victory and being able to continue, for instance, in a campaign game. Just shows you, taking good medicine instead of a victory check, not always the best thing. It leaves black cubes behind. Okay, well, thank you for watching. It's been a pretty long video. Thank you for sticking with it. Really, really appreciate it. And if you could possibly like and subscribe if you haven't done already, it helps me tons and tons. And meanwhile, if you could join me again, that would be really great, because again, we have something just totally different coming up. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.